Hi, my name is Wangu Kanja and I'm a survivor of sexual violence, and this is my story. In 2002, I was working for a company where I needed to go and look for clients. So I met up with one of my friends so that we can discuss about a prospect that he had to supply cars to a big organization. And during that process, we were carjacked. And at some point they let the men go because we were three of us, and I was left with the carjackers who took me to a secluded place. And one of the young men in the semi-fence place where I was held asked me to undress, and I refused a couple of times, but at some point he decided that this is whatever his intentions were to happen. So he removed a gun and threatened me for the first time, and I still refused to do what he was asking, but he got one of the bullets out of the gun, and he gave me and told me, you need to do of what I'm asking, because if you don't, then I'm going to use the gun on you. And I didn't have a choice because my negotiation with him had come to an end. So I had to do what he asked me to do. And at that point, he raped me, and my world went pitch dark. I was numb. I could not cry. I tried to be emotional, but it couldn't happen because, one, I had not consented to what he was asking me to do, and two, he violated me at gunpoint. And after that, the rest of the gang had come back because they had gone to look for money from the ATM, and they were discussing how they can gang rape me. But I thank God because it was 6 around dawn, so people were leaving for work and some were going home after their night shift. So after that, they let me go, and they told me if I want to go and report, I can go and report. And because of the trauma that I had gone to, the only police station I would remember was Buruburu police station, and where I took a matatu and proceeded to towards Buruburu, and I alighted at Buruburu phase 5 where I met a police car, and they knew what had happened. So when I went to talk to them, they asked me whether the carjackers had done anything to me, and I refused a couple of times because of, I know when you say you've been raped, then I knew that if you say you've been raped, then people tend not to believe you because people justify and condone violence. So I refused a couple of times, and then I ended up telling them, yes, I was raped, but they didn't give me any consolation. What they told me is, are you in a relationship? And if you're in a relationship, don't tell your husband or your boyfriend because they will leave you. And that's one of the things that I was actually fearing to hear, because people tend to look at a person who has gone through any form of sexual violence as a person who has done wrong. but keeping in mind that any person who actually violates someone is the one who's supposed to be held accountable. So after sharing my ordeal with them, then we went back to the scene and we ended up at the police station. And when we got to the police station, sex, sexuality and sexual violence is not an easy topic for so many people. So they recorded robbery with violence, and that was the end of that. I was told to go home. But thanks to a family friend who once in a while organized sessions for young people in my neighborhood, I had information on if it ever happened to me, what I need to do. And I went home. I had to change clothes because of the way I was feeling. I was feeling filthy, I was feeling dirty, and I needed to feel good about myself. So I took a shower. After taking a shower, I decided I have to go to hospital because you have to present yourself in hospital before 72 hours are over. So I went to St. Mary's Hospital, where I knew, because at that time there was no Nairobi Women's. The nearest hospital is the best option I had. So I went to St. Mary's because it was affordable, and I had to wait on the queue like every normal patient. So when it got to my turn, I entered the room, and the nurse started asking me questions, and I told them what had happened. Even them, they would not trust me because they thought I either went out and I was asked to do something and I refused. So it was a deal that had gone bad, and for me, that actually made me just feel violated a second time, because if I need to tell my story, people have to trust and believe what I'm telling them so that they are able to help me in the best way possible. So they got the high vaginal swab, took it to the lab, and then had to wait for the results, like for more than 2 or 3 hours. That time I'm just lying on the benches there waiting for the results. When it got to around 1 o'clock, I panicked because I knew that my window was like closing on me, because the HIV virus actually takes 72 hours to get into the bloodstream. So I had to look for an alternative. When I got my results, I called my aunt who was working for AAR as a nurse at that time. She told me to go to her office. When we got there, I showed her the results from the lab, and she was kind of shocked, and she started asking me questions. So, where did you get this? What happened? And because I could not tell my story over and over again, my sister who was accompanying me would, she's the one who narrated the story, and what I had told her is what she passed on to my auntie, and she found someone, one of her colleagues who was a counselor but also a gynecologist, to talk to me. So we went through a debriefing session, and then after that he told me what I need to do, what blood test I need to get, and he explained why. And the result on the lab test was that one of the perpetrators had a sexually transmitted infection, and it was caught up early, and I got a chance to get medication, and I was given post-exposure prophylaxis that actually helps people not to conceive, to contract HIV, or addresses if a person has contracted any sexually transmitted infection. From there, they told me it was important to go for counseling sessions, but I thought I was strong enough to get through this whole ordeal on my own, and I know I'm strong, and I know I'm a go-getter. That's the reason why I didn't go for the counseling session, because you have to tell your story over and over again, and I wasn't ready to go through that process again. So I just got my medication and went back home, and locked myself for like 2 or 3 months, where I didn't want to see anyone, and every man I met was this gray or black, dark black shadow, because the person who violated me was a man. So it changed the way I looked at men. They were gray or black. They were not full of color. And then after that, because I didn't go for the counseling sessions, I started using alcohol as a coping mechanism. One, it's not right, but that's what I felt at that particular time, because I wasn't ready to address what had happened to me. But over a period of time, 2.5 years later, I didn't like who I had turned out to be, because I didn't like the Wangu that I was seeing then, and that's why while I was seated in a bar, I saw an article on training and counseling for Amani Counseling Center, and I decided to join Amani Counseling Center to do short courses on counseling, and that's where I started my healing process, because I had to do every course that I did, I had to do between 10 to 12 hours, and it's mandatory. And during that period, that's when I addressed what had happened to me, and decided to use my own personal experience to help other people, because anyone, man, woman, or child, can be abused, can be violated, but that notwithstanding, it means we can help someone to become better and start their healing process. To anyone out there who might have gone through any form of sexual and gender-based violence, you can reach out to us on the contacts below. And I want to assure you that anything that you share with us is confidential.